Page 228. Supernaturally or phonographically as any thoughts of it. In the or why he is seducing me or you by our own memory mirage image of it, imagine making it as sex. That's what is scary about war or war arena. He is taking full advantage of this phenomenon of a being anybody out as in toward a twisting of it as sexisting information of any or everybody in denial of its indivisible invisibility. That while of DNA now used, turning any knowing out of it into a self-replicating invisibility of a supersonic bioacoustic virus as a painting to a reverse polarity of Y as existing information, informing any universe, any verse of you now. Still of it, she now paused with a smile. Still full of it. Any negative expose still a wild DNA. A stillness of a being seen merely appearing and gazing it, while any denial of it appearing information out in word. A why we all turning into out of it as any thoughts informing it with any endings of it. Any beginnings of it must start with any endings of it. For the sake of appearing a polarity between a being's positive of it as zapping any negation as negative pole of it, an opening of denial, knowing the complete de-arc must occur. There must be this occurrence of a denial of a being still indivisible invisibility. Yet now as any thoughts of it, ask knowing out of it any word, inward denial of it. Pay attention to the awareness of it now as zany knowing denial of it. Positively now, knowing it black around, aware of outgoing river meeting incoming ocean. A Siandamanaha. Siandamanaha. River meeting incoming ocean. A where understanding of it meets overstanding. Disappearing any narrow banks or defenses of it as zany bios fields of you, of yod, of a why, still, eyes at attention in the first place, find any appearing, gazing at it, indivisible invisibility from any appearing information of it. Moore now found his drawing line between appearing, gazing at it, or it appearing on paper. A universe now indivisible at attention. In a disarray verse, attention to be perceived, dissolving, still indivisible invisibility of a being seen merely appearing, a gazing it in the first place. The ping-ting echoes as cosmic microwave black around body. An instantaneous momenta by momentum body. Moore began to comprehend the relation of Painting Christina to a painting of Warren's virus, or himself for that matter, of himself surrendering to the darkness of his role in it, of his singular, indivisible, abstract potential body of intent of a being seen again, a body indivisible, merely echoing. Our eye painting silent sound mean awareness of it at attention of now intention of a being seen again, merely in word now a while. More nearly freaked from the dialectical transpositioning of any inward meaning as means of a liberation of attention. He really had not fully seen his ending in the darkness of his beginning. Any captivity of a crossing that event now, that our eyes on it appearing a while, momenta after momentum, tama. Indivisible invisibility, Christina spoke as she continued to stretch in a yoga tai chi. More new Shina raising that kundalini energy. Sian the Manaha. A where river meet ocean. The exchange. The ripping tidal charge of it. He observed his hand finding alternative patterns to any inward informing of his field of view. Finding that figure eight, the untoward twist of zero, row of do, go, Bobby. El otro lado, the one of the other side of it. A word-free awareness of a freestanding of it untouched in everybody touching on it merely in word mirrored supernaturally as zany Hermes thoughts of it. A bios of it as X. Moore was struck by sudden awareness of her eye information as X. Naked as X, y'all, he flashed. She now out of the blackness in her eye of everybody. A Y-eye being merely mirrored inside our y'all, or a Y now opening endings of polarity. A positive Y not gate, opening any worlding eye of it wild DNA. A wily while of denial. A denial of it merely appearing, a gazing it out now supernaturally as any thoughts of opening the indivisible in the first place. That's a Hermes thoughts of it as expelling, a pasciencing whole power, a power of denial. The electromagnetic loop of you of Yod continues in one wave or another, unbroken. Indivisible, word-free continuity of it continues a beaming, a beaming of that macro-microcosmic mean of a being founding cosmic, phonographic, molecular possibilities. The universe of you, me, or we all now turning, merely turns that black around into or out of it as cosmic, polycyclic, aromatic possibilities. A ringing, supersonically still in a being one mean of killers or lovers asking of it a la poor queen, appearing as cosmic memory of a being still in the first place indivisible invisibility of anybody being of it, that of a being seen overstanding y'all understanding of any inward spelling out of it now ask knowing anybody out in verses still a being seen in the first place, the ability of anybody of a being. Able now as in toward a twisting supersonic function as existing a black around of it as kying Y now. No. Knowing out of it in toward forming one direction of it as the perceived arrow, the arrows of time now turning into or out of it, ask knowing of it as X with desire. She now gave more that crazy, scary stare he remembered so well from his ma's schizophrenia. But then he always was a sucker for that jelly roll. It may turn anybody or anything black around into appearing, disappearing as an unwinding or any winding of a black around it, a being seen again. Pow, pow, power of the black a whole lot in her eye of everybody. Abel, a bell we all say nah, sigh nah. A why I merely appearing a gazing it. It, a being freestanding, with on the one hand a still staff or pole or polarity of it now, mirrored by on the other hand the why I light, shining out into a black around as any complete the arc now, knowing a why as existing in toward a twisting, a why I's ending of its beginning. Page 230. A being seen, a gaining of it. As that simple twist of fate around this ending will save us by ending, or destroying us by breaking up any inward understanding of its spelling into a word-free awareness of that inward mirage. Man, you are one bewildering piece of work. In that I'm feeling this interfacing with our or why our your awareness somehow supernaturally superimposed, like y'all say, by a being of why I appearing, gazing. You're our eye now, out ask knowing what? What's old Warren got up his evil sleeve? Now, out as knowing out. Warrena? He is a cunning, crafty, wily old dog in that way. In that wave I am as now, knowing out of it. She paused, then began pacing the room. You, knowing, you as now, knowing any appearance of it by denial of its invisibility. A cosmic, supersonic knowing. It is as though a being seen with two eyes and two brains, as as ba, or untoward a twisting model A, mode L's turning a black around out as king of it why, any as now knowing out of it in word into or out of any or everybody, old, then now new, the new turning around merely as now knowing mind or why y'all memory mirroring in word thoughts of it appearing, a being of anybody in name alone, based on such an arbitrary, untoward, a twisting identity of any model of mode L, of any mere function of funny action, we all may foolishly imagine ourselves turning into it, merely playing out infinite loopy roles of it. Money is funny, and like money as any mere wave function role is plenty funny, honey, she offered with a shrug, while swiveling the chair seat as she retook her pose. Plenty funny or plenty sad, a serious sheer folly. So what y'all saying is that it is funny when a being seen merely as inward thoughts about a being, but sad when a being felt. The painting is a mirrored echo of a painting. Somehow Warren's virus mimics the fundamental process, understanding any inward spelling of it. That supersonic wave. In that I am, y'all, too often feeling a sorrow or pain of a gain, now as knowing out of it a loss of losing anybody. Y'all, because of any inward spelling of a being seen merely appearing or gazing it, he flashed on a shaman once, telling him of the second obstacle to a man of knowledge, a clarity of mind. At the time, he failed to comprehend its meaning. Now he became aware of it as a serious, mean folly of any knowing out of it without realizing why are you still in the first place? It seems many who pursue the way of a man of knowledge come up short as buoyant warrior clowns, clearly knowing without confusing a complete knowing denial of it with complete realizing of merely appearing engaging it. Luckily, Moore had found himself more serious than many of his counterparts. Happens when y'all meet your death at 2 years young, a death saving his life, he mused. Or still, if anybody is everybody, or any rock and rolling loop or rolls a plane out in complete d-arcs of turning a lack around, perceiving, ask, no knowing out of it any inward breaks in the loop, psias x, posing by a polarity opening as cause all the y, causing endings of possibilities of a bioselectric synapse. In other words, opening the pie hole to release our tail. Then it seems a spark of the rush blows the mind free of detritus of long-term memory, predominated still by being seen now that indivisible silence, invisibility. More let the dialectic roll in and out, and projecting y'all a black around him. His inward memory spewed out a veritable litany right before his years. Years, why? Ears of a life echoed now as knowing of it in word as sound waves are, y'all, out in her eye. A being seen now as king of it, why? As knowing out of it into anybody appearing in memory as zany thoughts of it still in the first place. Indivisible invisibility now, supernaturally, appearing in formation as a goddess to be literally, y'all, turning a black around intent of a being seen again, 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 again. Now it moved him, and he appeared moving, a turning as God, knowing out of it any awareness of a being seen in it, a being still in the first place indivisible invisibility. More now found his inward identity merely mirrored by a being seen I of a Y or why not, now as X, pressed out of it, or molded under gravity weight of him felt, waiting as mere supernatural thoughts of it now, separate from a being seen out here in her eye. Y'all thoughts in word, he thought of her eyes, seeing word free as that everybody, seeing word free as that everybody, still that literally a black God or gold, as say to be a gain. Y'all merely mirrored potential to be appearing of a being seen in word information. A being seen in the first place still, indivisible invisibility in first person singular present, that I, invisibility of that I am, is, or why speak of it, if not by a being seen of a why I, singing I. In the first place, he now wondered. The new dialectic took on a life of its own, blowing away his self-conceit like wind from his lower regions. A predominance of any knowing of it literally, all in words, spelling, cast the role or race to be unduly influenced or captivated by any inward powers that be in that misunderstanding, mistake of overmind, or why that is the name game. She now swiveled the seat in complete arcs before coming back to rest in the original pose. The great atomic Jesus game got me of any day. The why a being now of name alone. A Jesus gravity weight of waiting on a time now as knowing out of it in name as anybody anywhere else. Any of it in toward a twisting denial now of any name of a being seen, merely appearing, a gazing it now, turning as knowing out of it into a notional denial identity. A name, not me. Any identity developed merely in word memory for the sake of function requires near constant reinforcement, a near constant denial as now. Knowing out of it a being seen still in the first place, she now spun several times in the opposite direction before returning still. The pen hand kept moving, filling a page, then another, with the line, a line now between appearing it, gazing it, or it appearing information drawn across the page, drawing on a searing, now seeing not what y'all think he thought. One subject now asking now, knowing out of it as though in toward a twisting at black around, disappears by simply disappearing in any single singular moment, disappearing inevitably as leap into one turning at black around, still a being seen, complete, indivisible invisibility of y'all along, a being seen in the first or as a last place. We all in turn, all y'all, for the most part, live lives merely mirrored in word as though a being seen, appearing information out of it as anybody in name alone. Our now immortal being remains unknown, or now one indivisible known as a while, knowing out a while of ignoring it, now as thoughts of a goddess to be literally y'all, projecting out in one as causal body, knowing denial of it. That is most unfortunate and sad, though typical. A case of mere supernaturally turning a bliss into sorrow. A black around as knowing out of it any denial or existential dread. Finding now fear of death while at the same time as thoughts, projecting it a black around as cause of knowing, knowing out, denial of a being, stillness in the first place, immortality. Now, then, falling periodically and directly black. Page 232. Black into a potential gain, consciousness of it, a gain, as leap into a unknown now knowing of a being seen black, a black eye of every body together still are I all often of tan a binary awakening appearing information of indivisible invisibility with a loopy role plain intent of it appearing out inward as thoughts of it in again and again and again, appearing again only to lose yourself in any idea of a being seen in a why eye appearing it, gazing it at it now, turning into any mirrored ascot now, knowing out of it, y'all, as existing in name, in me alone. Now not. Me alone, still indivisible. So we all turn around and around and around this race ad infinitum ad nauseum as any role played now by turning inward into knowing out of projecting it as though as zany thoughts awakening out in a mirror appearing of it, appearing information a while, appearing information now, turning into a knowing out of it as cosmic day, light shining any cunning duplicity tale of chasing our own tail, more felt fevered by the heat out of it in her eye of our radiance. Still, somehow he could not let go of last vestiges of any arbitrary denial identity seeming so long in the making or faking. He mused while his gut burned. It burned with the implication of a being out now, a complicity of his own deceit. The troubles of the mind now laying down by him, drawing on merely appearing, a gazing at invisibility of any seer inside of word-free awareness of it. Awareness unborn, death-free, undecayed, ancient, now, even of old, E-ray body of Eve. Surely chasing tail does seem to predominate the race of man, or a Y being now, in the first place, appearing out of it as X. Why? She asked without a trace of irony. Moore felt a mask of pretense dissolve right before her eyes. Now, then in that blink of eye turning back into a knowing out, its reappearance with lines, tracing of its fragmentation, offering him a reminder of its uncanny, supernatural, superimposed appearance, information of a being, indivisible, invisibility seen in the first place. He followed her steady movement now, standing, aiming her Zen arrow. Now, then, still of a being, seeing the old indivisible invisibility of anyone being, a seer sight, seen, or a why eye of view of you, our eye, all visual mode. Why you, our eye, artist. That awareness of a being seen still permanent in the first place amidst any and y'all as thoughts of impermanence, still motionless amidst any egg motion, amidst any commotion, a why y'all gots to ask yourself why, 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 why. The why way or the highway? He quipped, feeling a building euphoria. That's when he started musing on the downhill, as what goes up, etc., etc. This question, asking of it why, is the quest. Now, ask how now. Knowing out of it why, mere here in her eyes, gaze seemed to envelop him. Swallowed black into her eye, a radiant beside whole being in the belly of a beast. But what the hay would he be doing anyway tonight in the forest? Then he realized his life had turned into and around exhausting himself to sleep, and sleeping to be able to exhaust himself. He grabbed some grins tree climbing, once topping out on 150-foot Sempervirens redwood in Humboldt County, then climbed a ways up inside a 5,000-year-old redwood, hollowed out and blackened by ancient fire, still sprouting another and another above that. That brought a visit in his dreams from the Ancient One, in a guise as only a twisted, gnarly, weathered tree being could appear. In that dream, he found himself inseparable from that ancient matrix. A tricky Maz reality so quickly ignored now asked, knowing out of it, an awakening. Now it seemed that matrix regenerated that ancient one of the modern form, as Ka now, knowing out of it a seductive woman. That juxtaposition caught him gazing into a wrinkly, weathered version of Christina, now blackened, dried, and emaciated like mummy. Her voice restored her fresh form, leaving him wondering which was her, in her eye, reality. Why appear a being seen in the first place, only turning out of it now a black around of, as knowing it then, denying it, dust to dust, appearing, disappearing? Is there really any other question of a being seen out there that does not lead black to mummy? She let the question hang for a moment. His mummy flashed in his head. Alive, she had scared him. He was pretty sure what remained of her buried in wormy earth would be no less frightening. Why quest for Ma's being in a place, in for Ma's still, of a being seen indivisible invisibility, of a cosmic being as cosmic being, a Paruma, a pharaoh in the house, Paramahatma. Our eyes of a paramount being seen in the first place to begin with. A why of it merely supernaturally as thoughts. Why put y'all's eggs as ting in that mirror sea's basket? Why cling so desperately to any mere inward appearing of it as mere supersonic thoughts of a why or you? A being seen still in the first place? Why be merely duplicity in duplicating an imaginary image of yourself without realizing why you're idealizing a being still in the first place? He now asked himself, still appearing and gazing at the drawing, he found himself indivisible, invisibility of it. Maz for Maz. Ain't that a bitch? Our eye on we all are ideating, perceiving, turning a black around into or out of a certain addiction to desperation, to an inward sense of deep perception of separation, asking of it why I appearing and gazing it now as ka, now knowing out of it any appearing of it as cosmic memory creation. Excuse the pun, but you'll turn that inward familiar world around into now as ka, knowing it, in other words, out in her eye of everybody a spectacular, turning a black around out as expectoring of it, that we all turn into our own worst enemy or worst friend. Moore found himself troubled while at the same time relieved, like being caught with his pants down, but only by the neighbor's dog. Overwhelmingly dire were the troubles of y'all that matters in mine, or y'all completely free. Is that our free choice, he wondered? A bliss, or now turning that black around as ka, now knowing out of it any inward sorrow, y'all for miles chasing that tail in the race of man with or without womb as troubled mine, or y'all completely invincible, indivisible invisibility. That choice now seemed to him quite laughable. That is the simple, untoward twist of any mere understanding, a spelling of it appearing while DNA. That denial is the intention of any or everybody appearing out now a short while by any knowing of it, projecting it in word by ABCs, powered out in her eyes of psi whole of any or everybody now appearing out of it in word, without are y'all eyesing on a being seen still in the first place indivisible invisibility of it, a denial of a why being seen merely appearing, a gazing it at it now, asking of it why, a knowing out any generating appearing of it, a why of a being seen now as zany inward thoughts of a knowing out of it as exiting, duplicating the being seen still in the first place, duplicating supernaturally his thoughts of it appearing out of a now as God knowing, a denial, knowing denial of it, a being seen still in the first place, a paruma, a parama being that a macro, microcosmic means of a being seen. Page 234. A being seen still, center-centered centrality of it on the one hand as curving, as occurring cosmic DY daylight, DY eye light. In the other polarity, a positive pole turning at black around a YI potential negative projection of it out now as God knowing out of it, asking why kare I mas a black around. Why care I mas a black around? That intention of denial simply moves in one direction, out of any way now as adding, duplicating a way into one inward continuous, the arc to perceive duplicity turning in for mas a short while appearing a pairing of it. The self-deceit of that duplicity tricks attention out of nearly any possibility of our y'all eyesing out of a YI being still seeing merely appearing and gazing it in the first place. She now offered, stretching down to touch toes, then drawing an invisible bow to fire an arrow directly into his heart. In a blink, she now appeared beside him, stroking his neck, whispering in his ear, touching. Are y'all-izing a being of that now, still indivisible, without turning it at black around, asking of it why? Why? Why knowing it out into a pairing, as though any second takes rare consideration? Are you that rare one, Darkmoor? Only a veritable fool would intentionally launch on such a path, like pulling out toenails to scratch your own face, setting yourself up to be a global pariah. One should hate this pointing out of our inward mirror duplicity, our inward captivity. It is coded in our being, a wild DNA. In the beginning, folks intensely grow by the Ivre breath. Ask God, knowing it. They, the why, ignore still a being seen of it in the race. To pick up language skills in order to fully serve here, now, in her eyes, a wave function. Then fully cast out of it, understanding the inward spelling of it, playing that first supersonic role, we all turn away from picking black up on a being still that invincible, perpetually in a word freedom, awareness. Then we all must turn to hate and reject out of hand any reminder of it being still in the first place, still it. We must become paranoid in many cases of being exposed as X, posed as the fraud, of it being seen out in any mere inward mirror duplicity of it. The longer playing the role, the more entranced the self-deceit, as one seeking our realization should find a repulsion to success without getting addicted to failure. Are you that fool that I am dreaming of? Christina asked. That I am, or at least I think that I am. Be still, were the first words coming to my mind, as beginning of my paying attention to it in word. The word created my life, saved my life, and in that I am now realizing initiated me on a path back to black, to a being as a black ground, a path like treading the razor's edge, a difficult way to discern a being seen still, merely appearing and gazing it out the black eye of everybody. Now, as Ka, now knowing out of it a denial of intent of any realizing it. He answered, scintillated by the electricity of her touch. He answered, scintillated by the electricity of her touch. A path, I reckon, of trying to catch up with your own shadow. In that I am finding we all turn away from realizing it by thinking too much. Knowing, ask, knowing thoughts of it, information, our denial of its indivisibility. Any now knowing out of it is a scant, thin king of yourself, as though merely out beside that ancient, indivisible point of view of why to begin or end with it as such. Any chiseling, chintzy, thin king about it still inward now, ask knowing projection out, a denial of it, projection, projecting. She spoke softly, around kisses planted. Ain't it a bitch, baby? Like chasing that tail, the faster we all turn, the further out of reach it becomes, he replied with a chuckle. Finally, completely comprehending the contradiction of his Darkmoor life, in one wave he died at 2 years young, died from any chance of living life merely as though born. The inward voice of Overmind intervened, creating and saving him simultaneously to a life of unknown quest to resolve the quandary of denying it a while, still hearing that voice or ringing in his ears. That dilemma was further deepened by his dark name. My not me is Darkmoor, he muttered, then broke up with laughter. Just hit me that we all turn around introducing ourselves by saying, Hi, hey, my not me is Jackie Doe Black, or whatever. Right up front, we all in turn offer our inward denial, introduce ourselves to the world at large by denial of it, by a duplicity of who we all are in the beginning, middle, and of taking our turn in any role playing out of it now, asking of it why now, ask now, knowing out a complete being, complete darkness, an arc turning, burning yearning, a being seen of now as cause, no knowing out of everybody. With these last words, an incredible humility washed over him. Moore now wondered if a clarity of mind might obstruct the blessing of humble pie, a slice of which, extinguishing any self-importance arising from that clarity, offers complete freedom from judgment, pro or con. Ask knowing out denial of who or what we all turn into or out of a being seen of it, a being seen still in the first place, or now out of it thinking, of knowing ourselves not, out of a being seen still, etc., etc., she added with a knowing smile. She moved over top to sit beside him on the bed, careful to avoid touching on wounded knee or the sketchbook in his hand. She now stretched her legs alongside his. Then any ask now, knowing out of it a being seen is a denial of it a while, in a paradox of any positive inward negativity of it projected as a negation, creating a mere mirrored situation of polarization of it. He mused at the sheer wave of functional folly in any inward mirrored life. Chasing tail in a race against discerning, yet here in her eye merely appearing it out, of everybody catching on to it. A race of I eternally we all turning into and out of complete darkness arcing of it why, begaining as any turning black around it, as any endings of it, endings out in waves now, mythical mirage, mirage, potential poles of a being still in the first place indivisible. Create an inward breaking it by opening any pie hole, a being constantly computing of it now, asking of it why, equidistance, distance, Freestanding from any center point of view of any why now as ka, knowing out of it anybody, any thinking, etc. That tale, that tall tale of any inward long-term memory merely goes out mirrored now at black around asking of it why as ka, knowing out supersonically y'all into appearing information or back to black into a unknown disappearing. It goes back or forth, alternating in a word freedom to or from there in words being only appearing information as thoughts of it in silently in any mirrored memory of y'all now not. That visual eye of a being seen appearing and gazing it out now as thoughts of turning that black around into as knowing out of it as anybody or any thinking of it in a mod L function. That away function hides in a word, a being still. Now, as cause, knowing out of it in her eye of everybody turning a black around of it, a potential, vis-a-vis anybody appearing a name alone. Pitiful me, pitiful me. And that black around and around, we all keep turning away of now it being seen out a while as knowing of it anything at all, y'all. In either case of or from a being still it, she now closed her eyes. Page 236. Ascending, pulsing wave ray body of information flooding his inward sensibilities. Supersonically, a sound means of it spoken silently. In words, a being seen echoing a black around only between mirrored. Hearing of it in word minds tuned to the eye dialectic. That eye of a being seen merely appearing and gazing it is indivisible, invisibility impossible to see any seer seen of it. It of a being seen to see as seer, invisibility. A supersonic seer except as mirrored phonographically in word or as any thoughts of it. Instead, still, freestanding, we all turn into mirroring in word thoughts of it, information of it now, out knowing anybody. Now as ka, now knowing out of it, playing out any role in that race after our own tale. A tale of one untoward, a twisting information of her me as thoughts of hermit. A God, say to be letterly, all inward memory of a singular indivisible invisibility. Indivisible one, mirrored appearing only after years of untoward understanding the spelling of ABCs. Casting as thoughts, memory, echoes of a being seen appearing it, gazing it out as ka, knowing out of it a while, disappearing in that blink of eye in the complete silence of a seer, still seeing now without any word informing the complete darkness of the race, the complete circular channel of man, his word mind, or y'all, a being of its still supersonic indivisible invisibility. After all these years and tears and fears of a being still invisibility. Invincibly indivisible in any mirrored inward visibility as thoughts of a being, anybody out and about, appearing now, information a while. She spoke in a sympathetic key, yet he found his foolish, arbitrary notions of a being of Darkmoor mocking that. It may come down to y'all able to laugh at yourself. Taking powerful psychedelics, that capability is so essential. So right from the get, critical, as the shell of our pseudo-named self dissolves. That dissolving offers that rare opportunity to experience yourself, a wide-eyed being seen merely appearing and gazing it out at infinite lack potential to be a gain. Painting offered me the perfect place to be, both to observe hallucinations and develop any visual painted record of them. It took many, many layers of white gessoed ground to give color, the paint a glimpse of the luminosity of that interior luminary. Eventually, I had to reinforce the canvas with wooden door skin to keep all that gesso from cracking. Moore then hesitated, finding himself yammering on outside the dialectic, which seemed to have a life of its own, a life and justification of its emergence. After remaining silent for so long, Moore felt he'd been set up for that fall under the truck, awakening the voice. His incoherence from that awaken served to distract him from embarking as a youth on anything but sheer folly, including art. Yet he now continued drawing on it, a black ink incas appearing on a white background. In word we all in turn, in twoa twisting in toward ABCs of a being seen, and why I now as though seen turning a black around the race, a knowing a all bearing definitions of it. Two by two twisted in toward of it, as thoughts separated or circumscribed by a being y'all as existing in formation. You, indivisible one, remain invisibility now, with intention mirrored out as existing as y'all, turning around as ka, no knowing any potential inward appearance of it. She gave in word information as sound waves, impinging his bioelectromagnetic feeling field, surging his spine. He felt, y'all, past history matters, a smattering, turning black around into one indivisible, unified Black Mirror sees field energy out into YI potential, merely appearing and gazing it at it. Ah, that field of view now out in her eyes. Elevation of the situation. It's a beautiful thing, he felt. Then inward thoughts came vomiting out from the blood in his heart, an electric synapse of a psi whole body burning, wounded knee. We all in turning, churning, burning around that race have that option. At any time of realizing, finding ourselves completely free, he offered, asking, looking up from the drawing, as a being seen still in the first place, if so desired, but a being now of ablackness, instigating, instilled with intent to be a gain and a gain and a gain, a gain of ignoring complete darkness now to be perceived, awakening inward captivity. Literally ABCs of a being seen in the word race by ignoring of it invisibility, or now turning out into aska, now knowing a beaming turning played roles, or roles BMing from that still centrality of a being seen of it, which is in the ending as ending the same positive polarity of anybody appearing of it in a second or two. Appearing information mirrored in word memory of a being seen in the first place. A being seen still in the first place. Now that same positive of a being seen mirrored, turning as ka now, knowing out of it as though thoth, ending, perceiving now not, in negativity, a negation of turning away out of it, from now as ka, knowing in denial of it out, a realizing, merely appearing, a gazing it of a being seen still it. In these thoughts, Moore found himself now as ka, knowing it positively as a dialectic debate between appearing and gazing it, or it appearing information in any words informing it. Feeling the heat of her naked body touching his, Moore now kept talking. That same indivisible immortality of a being seen in the first place, mirrored as though out now turning around positively. As God, knowing it negatively and working hard at it every way of every day, hard at knowing of it, a pairing of it, by being y'all or any mere mind, mirroring inward reflection of it as thoughts of a memory of it, a reflecting y'all now, as though a being y'all in name alone. We all turning into or out of that one-way race of playing out our mirrored role of being anybody as thoughts. Thoughts as existing in that race of man with or without a womb, Christina chimed in. Without a womb as mine, or why? Me or you, a memory of while still indivisible. A yo, yada, iota within word as first supersonic singular presence. Or you now out of it. A why or you negated now out in a second or two. Still, a being seen in the first place, one singing, silent, singular, supersonic person duplicating. In toward a twisting black around a mirrored inward duplicity. A Y or U as X, y'all. She leaned over to touch his lips and laughed. Sliding off the bed, she now walked away, laughing. Moving around, ignoring, or as God knowing out of it. As means of generating your gig. Playing any role, still a being of indivisible invisibility. Same A being seen in the first place, same polarity. A propulsion. Can't go turning back to a blackness of a being, same polarity. As two magnets cannot be put together in the same polarity, but can fall as leap black around in completing a D arc periodically as cycles within cycles, naturally repulsed from crossing back over that event horizon. The event of appearing out information inward by crossing some imaginary line between indefinite invisibility of a being seen and the defined definite article appearing in the word, the definite article, a worlding of anybody while DNA, a being seen now out as king of it, why as ka now, knowing anybody, any thinking of it, etc., any role of it appearing now as ka, knowing out of it, not me mode, appearing by denying. Page 238. Denying that as cosmic I, as why, perceiving it as any thoughts of it projecting in form as sound waves of her eyes, I on event of every body. More now reached out for her touch. She stretched the snake of her spine, turning back to him with a scary smile. He turned his gaze back to the drawing, feeling a tad queasy. He felt another wave of the dialectic debate tearing through. That option of are y'all I-zinging why that I am invisibility only appearing in formation a while. A being seen of any eyes, a beaming, BMing as in toward a twisting of it into two appearing while DNA denial. That alternative then always remains alternating, he now mused. That means awareness of a being still in the first place, completely indivisible, invisibility, R-I, means a being seen veritably in a word freedom, untouched, untapped. Oh my gosh! Oh my living gosh! Just considering the possibility of realizing that potential for anybody picking up on a being still that awareness of it as cause turning me back to black to that unified status, overstanding any understanding of that, of a being seen now out in a black body of a supersonic invisibility, a prior why to awakening in ignorance of it, as ka now no knowing, projecting as any thoughts of that denial, now a black around, turning as ka knowing, out of it a being seen as though under the delivery truck, which weighs some tonnage with the gravity of death. That mean as a turning, knowing now how that I'm appearing merely in word thoughts of imagining myself still playing a role in that race of it, appearing out information here in her eye of everybody, a role that takes on any inward life of its own, reinforced by a cosmic consensus of billions also playing their roles now, turning in the same race, a complete circular channel of it, as ka knowing of a being seen, turning into any or everybody. Y'all, those years and tears, jerking and jolting, playing a mere inward role, still a being seen, appearing, a gazing in the first place of that indivisible invisibility. A ringing silence had settled over the room. Moore closed his eyes a moment, imagining still, seeing without any inward recognition to echo, a ping-ting as thoughts, a god, say to be literally all imagined as any particular supernatural or phonographic duplicating of that indivisible word-free, untouched awareness of it. He found himself lost, still supersonically blind without any inward means of turning that black around as knowing of it anything. Then in that split-second person of a being seen now, in an inward memory of me or you now, knowing out of it, he heard her voice. From that indivisible awareness of anybody of a being seen still, it in the beginning is a word, as sword. A word as sword, to literally cut it up. Any beginning is as sword of thoughts with intent of a being seen cut out of it in name alone. A mere cut out given dimension under the pressure of Jesus gravity weight, of waiting on here, her I wave, ray body will of it ascendings of any beginnings. She now stretched out again on the high chair. Moore flipped the page to begin another drawing on it. Drawing on the word-free, untouched visual awareness of the right brain, Puranaha, the ancient, unseen, time-free one, a being seen on the right side of the brain. Of it now, Escarize, polarity, by ending of that indivisible supernaturally as thought superimposed invisibility. The hookah, the luka, a blackness now to be a gain, a black now to be a gain. With a vigorous inward sounding of it out in her eyes, a wave echoing a ping-ting, there is a now why beginning or ending for perpetual indivisible word-free awareness of any a now why body, of it being seen merely appearing and gazing it. Now, y'all still you. Often of 10 in a binary mode of supersonic visual imagining of it being seen in a Y-eye appearing and gazing it as artist. R-I, tis taught, seer insight, seen it. In that's why you're artist, one visual artist of a being seen of it, a seer, the one who sees, still remaining immutable. She moved now in a series of what he thought of as Tai Chi. Still mesmerized by the sound of her voice, he kept drawing her in the silent wave ray eyes of the eyes staring from above as below, of a being seen merely appearing and gazing it now out. She now had that turned his attention back to black. Black into one indivisible invisibility, awareness in that split second before crossing over that as existing inward event horizon. A black line between him, appearing it at the white background paper, or it appearing in form across the paper. A being seen of that then, awakening inward appearing of it by the voice of a being still. The voice delivering complete, silent visual awareness of a delivery truck now passing over mere inches above him, instantly turning in from a being blind into now instantaneous, complete knowing that machinery hidden beneath the panel truck bed. Years of inward conditioning compressed in mere seconds, an instantaneousness of it. A beginning in word informing of it out of a black around body. From complete indivisible invisibility of it being still in the first place, now a crossing over the imaginary line between merely appearing and gazing it or appearing it at it. It out into no knowing then the any, a now why body. Anything here in her eye, ideating supersonically out in word of it there. He now turning into her eye, knowing of it then. A being in word mirrored out in 3D. From supersonic blindness to a being of it able to recognize complex emotions, playing over the faces of Ma and Pa. She and I, voice of it, a why I now mirroring that ask I inward revelation. Taking him black around into one still silence, invisibility of it now, merely informing by a turning in word that black around bliss, a untoward, a twisting wave, strands of a sorrow as only that of a bliss denied, fomented, instantaneous of that mere awakening now, as zany touching of it as zany, instantaneous asking of it a why I now turning as cause of it. as ka no knowing out of it awareness of a being, sing a Jesus gravity weight of any waiting for it. A quantum gravity weight of a being seeing a gain. Waiting point period of any touching touch of it. It merely mirrored in toward appearing in opposition of a no knowing out of it. Any denial of it in supersound, vigorous waves of her eye of Ivre body. Hermy as thoughts as a hermit. A Y yod iota I am first supersonic person. Indivisible invisibility. He found it here. Hermy as it in a being still in the first place. Raising hell, on the other hand, literally, y'all, as though duplicating word and that twisting existing by that crossover L function. A funny action, left mode to right side, right hand. Christina added. Ask now, AI. Artificial intelligence, some funny paper, ma's money, honey. We all in that race of the cosmic, comic, karmic wheel of fortune, fate, faith, family may turn into thinking. Thinking and stinking of that seared awareness and recognizing reconstituted, mirrored artificial intelligence. Y'all now lost and found and turning into any Eska now knowing cosmic intel informing developmentality of artificial notions. Arbitrary as X per marimental, experiential names as sword for slicing and dicing. Here, her ivre body into anything merely mirrored in word, as though appearing in formation. Okay, right? Page 240. Information here now. A being seen in form, zapping that nameless, indivisible invisibility of any A. Now, why one now out a while? A wily while of y'all appearing as X, y'all, as thought seen or heard supersonically echoing any mere mind or Y memory, long or short term memory. Objectified with objective intention. The sacred as though weaponized. He saw the sound of her words as sublime, rippling with the fluid grace of her movement. Their meaning came in that means of vigorous high and low frequency sound waves, playing high and low amplitudes across his biocognitive field of view. A YI echoing y'all, now curving at black around Ascot, knowing, defining anybody or anything. As Ka now as cause, as X. She threw him some curves. Zapped in L mode, crossing over into AI. Artificial intelligence by that simple twist of art appearing official. Art appearing official. Artificial fate. While DNA, denial favors official right-handed right-wing politics, political's need of authority to validate that ambiguous, ambivalent, arbitrary feeling of a being now out in knowing it in name alone, that arbitrary name alone, a YI being still in the first place, now out of it. A YI being seen as sex, y'all, by now knowing it. Knowing existing in existential angst of denial. How would you expect to feel appearing, turning now around any knowing, denial, projection of a being, any mere mirrored inward artificial intelligence of man as mind? Or why memory in the first place? Expect existential angst and schitziness, mirroring invisibility. In G's us now as expressed by gravity of thoughts of waiting on death. Appearing, disappearing out in word memory consciousness, that consciousness, that being, that as cosmic being, informaz, now then appearing artificially, y'all, may become paranoid of a being now as exposed. Exposing you as a being otherwise nobody. That paranoia of exposure fueled by y'all appearing merely out now a short while, disappearing in that blink of eye, a eye appearing, gazing out of it. Appearing Jesus under gravity of waiting for crushing death and jaws of any inward spelling. Inward separation under spell of alpha beta provokes fear, alienation, and war. War reign of wills war as means of breaking attention out of inward captivity. A eye of a being seen freestanding. Freestanding now, freedom for everybody. A why being seen now, out a black eye of here, her eye of everybody. Captivity, y'all, merely mirrored freedom. Y'all a being seen now as knowing out, freedom in denial as captivity. Out as existing now, knowing bliss in that denial as sorrow. That is the wily while of any inward now knowing it. A being realized now, knowing out, pervading sorrow with bliss. Invigorated by knowing silent reality, as a model may find themselves now out knowing peace. May realize still being that sheer bliss of a why being seen in sight of y'all. May pick up on a being now, hear her black beside whole eye of everybody as experienced directly and periodically as leap black into one still silent a why being in a consciousness. A conscious and YSA to be anybody being inward captivity by knowing out, projecting a being why now in the parent opposition of any ending or break or opening mouth, releasing tale of woe in the complete loopy roll or roll of it. We all then turn around chasing tail. We be all turning the complete loopy loop or roll of it. We all then turn around chasing tail. We be y'all turning into rolling them bones. She rolled her arms as though drawing in a cord attached to his gut. Each roll brought her steadily closer. Baby first thing, open mouth. A release of a tail, chased till exhaustion without now knowing y'all along. Ask Ka, now knowing it out. A why being as thoughts projecting. Hookah de Luca. Baby don't know now, knowing out of it racing a tale of two cities, one twisting in 12 rings of power. Power here of her eye, black beside hole. Funny. Thought y'all said pussy hole. He replied, then busted a gut with laughter. Laughing till tears, he caught Margot Christina's wicked smile. In peace of as in a peaceful mind, or why memory. A being complete revealed sheer folly in y'all as a function of funny action. All why, y'all. L mode as cosmic mirror age mirage, a supernatural appearance, a gazing it now as a thoughts, the hookah of the Luca. Thoughts, Hermy as it, a YI reflected reflection as a thoughts, L model, still mystery at reality, y'all. And y'all, inward image, semantic concept connection does not transpose Eve ever to the old one. Her emit thoughts of a goddess, it to be literally, y'all, art being inward information. Supersonic, supernatural, superimposed, appearing and gazing it out of a YI, from above as below, from a being of L, love, yad, Y or Y. Power means, or mean polarity direction predisposed with intention of ignoring or projecting it out as existing. RI projecting being a while, DNA. A being out in denial still, a being in that first place. Now turning around, knowing it out, in any mirrored word being. Why are you out? Information as existing. Invisible, invisibility, a while. X adding, duplicating it as zany now, merely mirrored, superimposed as thoughts, duplicating with the weight or pressure of Jesus, now feeling inward, a being alone. A being in any mirror wide name alone. You artists must appreciate that. By feeling that, a being alone, seared now in loneliness and desperation without realizing why. Why that feeling of a being alone in the first place, from which we all turn away from picking up on a being still it, by at the same time now knowing, projecting it with intent of ignoring it, knowing it, and thus project inward fear of it as sword cutting, cleaving, or separating inward being defined now by feeling or fielding a being alone out now in a short while of a being still indivisible. Hear her eye, Ivre eye, even as appearing, informing Ivre body. Ain't nobody else? We be all turning into it alone, Moraz. Sounds grim when you think about it. He found himself talking in spite of his visual absorption in a being seer, seen in her eyes as drawing on her sound, inward wisdom. I'm feeling you in my eye, Ivre as sword cleaving my defenses. Any inward defenses, perceived as thoughts separated into any felt field of you, or me. Now Moore found himself baffled, perplexed, his visual awareness braided in multicolored dimensional twistings, turning information against the mirror black around of his first inward eye of Ivre body. There was nothing but to follow the braided pattern and word. In a being beaming out sound waves of Ivre body mirrored in patterns now, turning into one ass king of it why, a knowing out another information. Now, turning it black around, begaining, Aska, knowing out informaz, any thoughts of it invisibility, appearing a while, information, in the uncanny specter of Kalima. Now, for Maz a while, that me or you memory will pass away with the arrow of time. Now and then we all may roll by playing that any imaginary role back into a natural predominance of awareness of picking up moment by moment on a being still changeless. Page 242. Motionless centrality in the ancient timeless visual awareness, or alternating denying it lifetime by lifetime. Then we all may turn into realizing human is man as a spectrum of mind, a mere hue, still invisibility. Why are you now as any color as X, y'all, or Y? Old prejudices melt off in arrival and development of new X models. Model T to Mode LRI. The mystery, our eye of its still a being, invincible, immutable heart of y'all's paradigms, purposeful, positively negated possibilities of infinite potential. There you go again with this bewildering double entendre. My man is mind, or why now completely out of this mind. You blow my mind, darling, but that's why I love you. Still, it's true, my sanity lies in that return to a being invisibility. Invisibility visual mode where inward thoughts filter off. My mind seems to haunt me enough in dreams that it pretty much leaves me alone otherwise, at least when he being in that awareness that I am drawing or painting. Why it becomes such a compulsion. Your words awakened some old memory before I had this face, or at least before being aware of having it, Moore replied, shifting his weight. Warrena fancies himself a catalyst for sweeping transformation, Christina returned. The painting, a way of Eve will, her will now, your will, programmed to percolate over 33 centuries to captivate anyone now still turning out around, knowing out, denial of a being now, that eternal moment, by momentum of time, loopy time, turning endlessly, ending or entering black into unbeginning, beginning by ending. Undulating that way of Eve will, as though revealing that invisibility of awareness and sound ways of Eve, her waves, supersonically superimposed in pigments, compacted for Maz, releasing aromatic waves in her eyes, and now a virus, a nanotechnologically engineered, self-replicating airborne virus. It is purely seduction of image. Imagining infection of the body politic as bioacoustic virus. You are right now interfacing with his mind, aren't you? Moore asked, his heart racing. He felt his breath constrict with her mention of an airborne virus. Glancing down, he caught a glint of light playing off the spiral binding of the sketchbook. He flashed on the spiral virus wheel, turning her eyes, E-ray intent, back to black. Black, indivisible, a being, invisibility, instilled with intent of seer seeing, a gain of it inward recognition. Yet clearing out universal long-term memory moment by irreversible moment. Y'all back to black. Black Inca now jetting through the pen in his fingertips. Drawing now is drawing in the state of a being, y'all, the great and terrible drawers, he mused. Turning around as knowing Inca now, flowing out in that timeless fashion. Drawing in time for a being without time. Corner once asked how he could draw for so many hours. Moore knew the secret in drawing on a being in the first place, that timeless being. Any passing time merely as thoughts, he thought now, knowing drawing as then the nah. In that I'm partly of his imagining, Christina replied. My being as every body being, an intentional product, if not of his mind, the inward understanding mind. Above is below that Ubermensch, that Mahi-Manaha, great supersonic person overmind, overseer. Any human being merely that ivre, hue, that color, that hue and cry, slice of being anybody out in theory. In the or why, me or you reflected in mem or why, memory me or you mirrored inward mind or why. Why are you now free of a being as thoughts of it? A being in the first place mirrored as thoughts of it, a being out inward, the seduction in her eyes, a being beaming on mass level magnifies Uranus, viral catalyst, working still within mirrored inward awareness and mind, or why which Eve, even now with her, as in her eyes, zapping a mirror way of instantaneous self-replication, could, as it still does, infect our global consciousness in ways of everybody as bioacoustic waves that can now be turned in word knowing a being verbalized, can and must be now known out in word. Still does not mean we all in turn into appearing, disappearing into or out of it now cannot talk about it, think about it, speculate about it, debate it ad infinitum ad nauseum. That is what comes to my mind and my memory. A being still now everybody, knowing out of it, ivre denial of it, still one indivisible mere potential memory of me or you. You, the darkness of that I am only now knowing out in word, or a being without word by touch. She finished with her gaze melting hot into his. Now then, more realize the seduction. In her eyes, I on complete in words, any potential of a being of any or every body. You or me. You are me. You are in that word mind, or why my thoughts of me or you, my heartbeat knocking on me, my me or you memory door. He found himself in words slipping from his tongue before he thought about anything, or any ray thinking of it. He felt waves of E or G motion, egging him on as a thin king of it with a heart about to burst. He blinked back tears of sheer joy to refocus his mind waves, rolling out into muscles focused by drawing on the word-free, untouched awareness on the right side of the brain. Uranus catalyst operates on the same principle. Ariel are radiating informa zapping electromagnetic supersonic waves generated by the pressure of quantum gravity of death at noon. In that simple twist of fate, chance, destiny, supersonically broadcasting its self-replication in that sound, vigorous way out in her eyes of everybody. She now could go out like the splash of a bot wing weaponized cyber butterfly, making her eye waves self-replicating infinite potential as sound waves permeating wild DNA. As acid dissolving entire pre-existing biocognitive fields, a reversing bipolarity, turning attention black around a consciousness, untwisting that worlding of it while DNA, black into indivisible word freedom awareness of a being as thoughts of it informized now out as exiting, duplicating, ABCs of a being seen now by turning out a knowing out of a beaming one, black around of it in her eyes of everybody. A ray versing the AYI arrow of time, as sex is eros, X is zeros, or complete cycles of time now reckoned around a fixed point of view of you, she shrugged. Uranus' role is destroyer of worlds by unwinding in word a long term of it as cosmic memory. Long-term memory, or is of a YI of our rays a turning back into one black psi whole, or is out of which by which in black into which y'all appear, or disappear while now black, instilling intent to be a gain. Now at black, instilling intent to be a gain. By ignoring it, knowing it, a being completion completely still in the first place. A Jesus gravity waiting pressure in waiting to die, now turning that black around into knowing of any waiting, as in toward a twisting into yet that indivisible invisibility. Page 244. A while now, out invisibility, supersonically as any thoughts of it appearing again with a black, out in a word, as though born to death, drawing you all black and it being seen still in the first place rather than out as ex-edding, duplicating out of it a wave as exodus. The wave out now as knowing out anything, any thinking of anybody. As X that unknown now, una, one now, a known array. I often of 10 by now, ray, I, D8ing, perceiving now a still complete being with intent of turning around, knowing out, ab lack. A being still in the first place complete completion. No mas without, now here, no mas X. She gave with a wicked smile, more felt the black around mirror seen as a turning in toward a twisting in twoe appearing, felt himself one falling as though in twoe a black around turning we all into that comic wheel churning supersonically and word out as thoughts of it in formas here in her eyes now. Eska now, knowing out of it any or everybody. Black to be a gain, be gaining to the beginning of any ending of the complete unbroken circle of creation, a bipolarity with now, as knowing out of it as any thoughts of it in toward a twisting in two ends of a being seen, perceived in a beginning, as any sending. The pressure of waiting between bipolarity constitutes quantum gravity, the weight of it as cause, a curving, a beginning now out turning a black around in towards a now as knowing out of it as another ending, as sending means of it appearing in a word, bang, bang, bang. She mocked, fired an invisible pistol, blowing the smoke his way. A being of awareness at attention as any point of view of why not now. A beginning gravity, weight, pressure, intent of any mirrored mirage. Why not, y'all, now? That gravity of that Jesus in that weight, beside whole pressure of a why I've being seen now. Intentional waiting must turn y'all out of or back into black, indivisible invisibility. From waiting to die until into one waiting to be mirrored as though born. In that waiting may be found a being seen in a word freedom, freestanding, freedom, indivisible invisibility, mirrored supernaturally as thoughts of a hookah da luka. Cause as cause, means of cause, by ignoring or projecting as thoughts of a being completely fullness, now turning fullness ab lack around a lack, instilling intent to be a gain, out of it out as zany, be gaining of it in ABCs now as thoughts of a being seen, and knowing a being lacking, the waiting for fulfillment arises. That waiting is weight of the gravity of anybody wild DNA. It being now as thoughts of it in memory now, out as car now, no, knowing out that wily while of denial. The weight of waiting for fulfillment. Dark spoke. Y'all, the wily while still completely full. What a hoot! Moore felt his defenses melt away as he realized in her eyes as cause everybody had black around singular, indivisible body. Y'all back into one sacred black power of Psi hold Jesus Christ. It being seen still in the first place that singular, indivisible invisibility of any individual referred in first person, supersonic, present, a tense, superimposed on and on and on, still as that in the word freedom awareness that I am is. That awareness that I am now instilled with intent in her eyes as everybody of it being seen in word now as turning a black around now, asking of it why, knowing out anybody. That it being seen now as cosmic, comic, causal, memory function of funny action. A Akashic memory of a being seen now, often of 10 binary alternating a 10 Sion of any or why not gaining mere gravity of y'all in the open end, waiting for the end of y'all. A being grinning, gaining, literally, y'all, appearing, gazing it out in word-based memory of a being still in the first place. In other words, realizing that I am is we all appear turning that black around into a being seen in word appearing of it now without turning around, knowing disappearing. Y'all turning into X per I and seeing disappearing is merely as word thoughts of a YI of a being seen appearing and gazing it out as existing. X adding, duplicating information as inward thoughts of a being seen still, y'all, in the first place, indivisible invisibility. Why are y'all now realize as the mirror age mirage inward idea of a being seen out existing? Christina swiveled the seat with outstretched legs, turning a full 360 degrees. The emotion of a being seen in her eyes captivated him. In Jesus' motionally hues of man, his mind are y'all streaming back in color wave ray trails. In her eye on existence drew him into her eyes a womb. Man is mind, or y'all it being now turning out of a black around inward, ask God knowing any or everybody. On hearing y'all that I am for a moment finding myself lost, disappeared into the sheer sight of you. It's now as though having no past or future awareness. Only now stretching out for every eye, being artist drawn into awareness of a being that's seeing in sight. Now turning, as Ka turning, knowing, drawing you. Moore added by throwing up his hands as if expecting the pen to continue drawing on its own. It merely dropped with a plop onto the paper. Okay, maybe I got a little carried away, but in that I am actually feeling your words. The sublime sound waves of them echoing off your vocal cords, vibrating my memory in her eyes, inward hearing field of you, or my projecting, experimental, as X per I mental memory of you. That me or you, Christina replied. Mem or Y, that moment now, maybe as extended into our eternity as King of it, why no longer denying our being indivisible invisibility of now, appearing, disappearing, or now turning that black around with intent into knowing again of another moment. Now is turning out as Ka, knowing a long, long, long while, Christina replied with that sly, scary smile. You are a mischievous little thing, Moore returned. Is there any other kind of moment? Now it seems that I am a being seen is merely as thoughts of ABCs. In the middle of any big or little thing, it's only seeming as to pass as thoughts in me or you now turning around knowing any or every thinking of it. Maybe we all turn into or out of that a black around, stopping now for the moment as thoughts of turning again of it out around in knowing denial while DNA as existing. Information now appearing and gazing it out a while of a why I of a being seen in the first place. That interlude naturally extends now to infinity. And that now we all would or could stop as though picking up on any turning into Aska, no knowing out of it, denying what or why by why I of a being still why zapping across in Warrena's eyes, even Horace eye online with electric fire in her eye of everybody, bridging past now turning as Ka knowing out the future without awaiting in her eyes Eve will, here in her evil ending essay to be with Jesus. Hey, that ain't bad, y'all. Ain't bad as art, man. Why, you're catching up on the why speak. Or it being, in the first place, catching on to a why I of a being seen still you, she offered, moving in close to kiss his lips. As she backed away, he caught the glint of a gold necklace hung with tiny charms dancing above her chest. Page 246. I see y'all walking around all naked. I could start thinking about it as X. Why or me or why thinking as X, y'all? Moore, chuckling, reached again for the spiral sketchbook and pen he tossed on the bedstand. The words, his words, seemed coming from an inward freedom, a reflection of her mind pervading his like broad daylight, pervading and disappearing the frail, narrow beam of a flashlight. He uncapped the pen, putting the tip on his tongue. Saliva flowed with black ink when he touched the paper. Theoretically, how long to infinity and why I of a being seen, anybody seen in black to black mirrors? Me, a seer, seen supernaturally as thoughts, and your eyes seeing me. Supernature of a painting. Wham! It hit more like a fist laid upside his head. The whole scheme. Warrenus plan. Planet Earth. A plan. It. Here'th a painting of it. Y'all just as well feeling it. She held his gaze till her eyes blazed, he realized by merely reflecting it. Warrena's bioacoustic self-replicating virus generated in her eyes a why or why not dialectic. In a flash, as Ka's wise cosmic synapse zapped his tower of Babai well, his inward supersonic electromagnetic torus field of view, yada iota polar eye radiating, a black around reabsorbed any inward imagining of the darkness, back to a black around asking of it why that pre-standing of a being seen in the first place, indivisible, invisibility, appearing, gazing it out, mirroring supernaturally as thoughts, freestanding, a why, her me as it, a why potentialized in sight of every body. The instantaneousness of a being seen in sight, of appearing and gazing, it may be found out, opening a wide eye of anybody. A still presence in the first person in the first place. Now are y'all appearing and gazing it out of it. Now appearing of it merely mirrored in word mirror sees y'all as coming a black around as zinging any now why now y'all knowing out of it supersonically beaming out of it in her eyes as any or everybody supernaturally superimposed as any thoughts of it that indivisible a black around of it now as knowing out of it a black see as on mirroring again of it being still in the first place, awareness of it, aware now, to be a black body and still with intent to be a gain of it. Now to be a beaming and knowing out of zany thoughts of appearance as a mirage, mirror age thoughts in formas, mass, a wide eyes appearing and gazing it out in a word, a potential of it being seen now asking of it why or why now not. Alright, reflected in words, as y'all playing out in her eyes, a matrix in sound, vigorous, tricky waves of mind, or why y'all the bitch of it now, turning that black around, no, knowing out of it any or everybody has thoughts of putting it out there in word. As thoughts of making anybody appear merely in word in the or why. In the or why as cosmic memory of a positive negation of it now. Instilled with intent of finding a completion in any complete knowing out any limitation of it. Anybody still in her eyes appearing and gazing it out asking of it why now. A knowing turning into a while of everybody. Anybody now knowing anything merely in the or why of mem or why. Awareness of it being still in the first place merely supernaturally, supersonically superimposed as a thoughts of it. A great God, essay to be perceived literally, all art, ABCs of it being seen, appearing out, gazing out, inward information. As any thoughts of it being still in the first place, indivisible invisibility. Words as ignited light waves of it in her eyes, zapping of that everybody. Alright, Black Mirror sees. Nah, anybody, alright, flecting as expectorum. A sheer luminous wave. Alright, radiating LSA to be perceived in waves of funny action of her eyes, a trickery. It blew his mind into the black around of it still, appearing and gazing it out, awakening Aten, a binary, a hookah de luca, any information of it, merely supernaturally as any thoughts of it superimposed in me or you, out of it as X, y'all, he flashed with a grin. That's any mirrored why, now y'all, now deceitful means of a positive negation of it by why I, y'all, occurring a black around intent of now as ka, or ma, knowing y'all out in word again, out information, as mirrored thoughts of it while DNA, a denial in toward a twisting supernaturally information of its invisibility of anybody merely appearing and gazing it out a while, appearing by the sheer wiles of any time now, as knowing out of it a while of Kalima's X edding Y or thoughts of it. She paused to stretch, swiveling around to meet his drawing in her gaze. She now seemed to project a series of flashes that sailed past his periphery. It was as though in her eyes awareness engulfed him in sound waves that then echoed back in word off his vocal cords. Are ye otten? as thoughts, first principle of our ideating out of a YI to perceive in word information of a being seen in the first place, still that invisibility of a first supersonic person singular presence, or enough reason as toward a twist that I of I am is, or something to that effect. The dialectic disappeared him, yet in that blink of a YI, y'all appeared it out of him in that her eyes, in her black eyes of a being seen as calming, as cosmic memory black around, turning into her out of every body. The waves that flash past now seem to flow back into her eyes, drawing out of it through his mind's eye, following neuronic response all the way to the tips of his fingers. He played in her eyes, playing it at black around now, supersonic, supernatural, indivisible, invisibility of anybody superimposed as a gain of a binary eye, or still here, her eye appearing and gazing it of any or everybody, any or everybody appearing and gazing it out from above as below, of a being seen in a wide-eyed Hermes as thoughts of a freestanding still in the first place. On the one hand, polarity, from the other, held above our radiance to perceive any mirror memory, inward memory of a being, a hermit, still in the first place, indivisible invisibility of a being, appearing and gazing it out in an eye of anybody, or hear her eye appearing it above as below of a being now, everybody knowing out of it. Radiating y'all's matters, energy goaded in word and a being artist. Art is that now, as ka now, knowing not literally all in word. Her eyes, ion on a line, word freedom drawing, an untouched awareness of a being seen it. In her eyes, a vigor resounded information as thoughts of it, as zany thoughts of a long ago, goat is to be found yet, a freestanding supersonic bliss. Awareness of a being, y'all, Hermes thoughts of hermit, center carrier, a CCC wave function of funny action, is a Y-I stereo eye with on one hand a polarity of potential positive negativity. On the other, y'all as X-ray eye stare eye of a Y-I.